Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty powerful today. We're taking a look at Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. And,
Ooh, good one.
yeah. Looks like somebody's been busy highlighting and taking notes. So
Lots of good stuff in there.
yeah, I think we're ready to unlock some serious self-acceptance today, huh?
Absolutely. This book, it's like, it really is. I think it's a roadmap to what she calls wholehearted living.
Yeah.
And she does such a good job of weaving together, her own personal stories like research
Right.
and then actual practical advice. So,
Well, and that's what's so cool about it, right? It's like it's not just like a fluffy self-help book. There's some real meat to it.
yeah, there's a lot of depth.
Yeah, and speaking of meat, like the premise itself is so interesting. Like we're always chasing perfection, right?
Right.
But what if our imperfections
Yeah.
are actually like the key
Yeah.
to like a richer life?
Totally. Yeah. It's kind of like that counterintuitive thing that you wouldn't expect, but
Right.
it's so true.
Yeah, yeah. So before we even get into like all the good stuff, can we just like define wholehearted living? Like what does that even mean?
Yeah. So at its core, it's really about this idea of embracing your worthiness.
Okay.
Even with all of your like flaws. Right. It's not about trying to achieve some like impossible standard of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It's about showing up authentically as you are.
Yeah, yeah, like just being yourself. You know what's funny? I was looking through your notes and you had highlighted this whole section about like this idea of enoughness.
Yeah.
And how like it's almost like a birthright.
Yeah.
Like what if we just like started from this place of I am enough?
Yeah. I love that.
Right.
Totally.
Like how would that change everything?
That is such a good point. I mean, that's really a huge like perspective shift.
Yeah.
And Brown does acknowledge like it's not easy because there are a lot of things that can get in the way. And, speaking of things that get in the way, I think you had flagged some of the like big roadblocks that she talks about in the book. What were some of the things that really stood out to you?
She talks about people pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
And perfectionism. And I feel like those are kind of like
universal struggles.
Like everybody struggles with that, right?
Yeah.
Trying to measure up, trying to fit in.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want to be liked and accepted.
Right.
But what's so interesting is that Brown actually found that this drive to fit in, this need to please everyone, can actually lead to you feeling more isolated.
That makes sense, though. It's like the more we try to be what we think other people want us to be,
yes,
the further we get from like who we really are.
Exactly.
Right.
And it makes it harder to form like genuine connections because you're not even being your true self.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just keep like pushing people away.
Yeah, and it just becomes this cycle. But the good news is she also offers a lot of like strategies for dealing with these things.
Well, and you highlighted one extensively, I think, because you had like stars and underlines.
Yeah.
And that is self-compassion.
Oh, yes. So important.
So important, right.
Yeah.
So can we just unpack that a little bit? Because she breaks it down into these like 3 parts, right? Which are
self-kindness.
Okay.
Common humanity, and mindfulness.
Okay, so it's not just about like, being nice to yourself,
Yeah,
right?
no, it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
So self-kindness, it's kind of about treating yourself with the same gentleness that you would, offer to a good friend who's going through something difficult.
Okay, so like being a good friend to yourself.
Exactly. And then common humanity, it's really about acknowledging that like everybody makes mistakes.
Right.
We all struggle. You're not alone in this.
It's like that shared experience of like being human.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then mindfulness, that's about being present with your emotions without judgment.
Gotcha.
Just observing them rather than getting like totally swept away by them.
I mean, I think back to her story, right, that she tells in the book about like totally bombing this presentation.
Oh, yeah.
And she, the first thing she wanted to do was just beat herself up about it.
Yeah, totally.
But then she actually like made a conscious choice to practice self-compassion.
I love that story.
Right. And just remind herself like, okay, everybody makes mistakes.
It's so powerful.
And to just like allow herself to feel the disappointment, but without judging herself.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself permission to be human.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So we're starting to see how like being kinder to ourselves kind of lays the foundation for this wholehearted living thing.
Absolutely.
But then you underline this part about vulnerability.
Oh, yes.
And this is where it gets like really juicy, right? Because she actually calls vulnerability a powerhouse.
A powerhouse.
Which might throw some people off.
For sure. I mean, we're so used to thinking of vulnerability as weakness.
Right. Right.
But she totally flips the script.
Yeah. So how does she define it then?
She defines vulnerability as having the courage to be seen, imperfections and all. It's
Okay.
about being willing to let go of that need to pretend
Mm-hmm.
and allowing yourself to be truly known.
I remember there was this section in there where she was talking about her research on connection and how, like, the people who have a really strong sense of love and belonging,
Yes.
they believe they're worthy of it.
Right.
And that belief stems from being vulnerable, from letting people see them.
Exactly.
Right.
So vulnerability is like this key to building those deep connections
Yeah.
that allow us to experience, real intimacy and belonging.
Which is something we all crave, right?
Yeah.
Like to feel seen,
Oh,
heard,
right.
understood.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about self-compassion, vulnerability, but your notes also point to a few other like key things that really stand out in the book. Like I see things like gratitude, setting boundaries, making time for play and creativity. Why did those resonate with you?
I think, in a lot of ways, she's giving us permission to be our full selves.
Yeah.
Like messy, imperfect.
Right.
And to find the joy in that.
Yeah.
So gratitude, it's really about appreciating what you have.
Okay.
Setting boundaries, it helps you protect your well-being. And play and creativity, those are the things that can kind of help you reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder.
Yeah.
Like keep things fun and light.
Okay, so if we had to like boil the Gifts of Imperfection down to its essence, what would you say like the core message is?
I think it's really about embracing who we truly are, flaws and all,
Yeah.
and living with more courage, more authenticity, more connection. It's about cultivating that deep sense of self-worth and allowing ourselves to be seen, really seen.
This is powerful stuff. I mean, I know it's resonating with me, and I bet it is with a lot of our listeners too, but it's a journey, right? It's not like we read this book and suddenly, bam, everything's perfect.
Absolutely. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Small steps.
Okay.
Consistency. Celebrating those wins.
Okay, I love that. I love that. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive today, I'm going to leave you with a question to think about, okay? If you could let go of one thing, just one thing,
Okay.
that you feel holds you back from being your true self,
Oh, that's a good one.
what would it be? Think about that. Keep exploring those gifts of imperfection.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next time with another deep dive.
Sounds good.